guys, it's me, Sarah. Did you know that it is hard to listen and understand while talking to your seatmate? Yes, you heard it right. So guys, we should stop talking right now. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should listen more than we say. So guys, are you excited to see our DJ scrapbook? If yes, then let's get started!
So now we're here on our first page of our DG scrapbook, which is blog. So let me define first what is blog. Blog is a regularly updated website and a web page. Short articles called posts that are changed regularly in informal or conversational style. We have here an example of blog. A cooking blog. In this blog, there is a conversation between the viewers of the blog. They write their own opinions in the comment or review section of the blog. There is also an information about the author or the writer of the blog, which is Maylie Hernandez, and why she created the blog. Mobile phone tekstula is a traditional Filipino poem. A particular example of this poem is a tanaga that consists of 4 lines with 7 syllables, each with the same rhyme at the end of each line. Here is an example of a mobile phone tekstula. So this is a conversation between the boy and the girl. So the boy says, "Ititigil ko na ang panliligaw ko sa iyo." "Bakit? Di mo na ba ako gusto?" "May iba na akong natitipuan." "Matagal na ako sa'yo, ginamit mo na ako, ngayong nahulog na ako, ba't papalitan mo ko?" So the last line, where the girl says, "Matagal na ako sa'yo, ginamit mo na ako, ngayong nahulog na ako, ba't papalitan mo ko?" was an example of a tanaga. That is consist of 4 lines with 7 syllables, with the same rhyme at the end of each line. Folk song is the oldest form of Philippine literature emerged in the pre-Spanish period. Folk song is a song that originates in traditional popular culture or that is written in such a style. An example of a folk song is the song Ang Pipit. Ang Pipit is a popular Filipino folk song by national artist Levis Celerio about a bird that is called Pipit. So let's all watch this video. Mind mapping. Mind mapping is a graphical technique to visualize connections of information. This tool structures information to better analyze, comprehend, synthesize, recall, and generate new ideas. You can use Microsoft Word or online mind mapping tools in creating a mind map. So we have here some examples of mind mapping. Here is our first example of mind mapping. So the main idea or topic, which is at the center, the literature, and the arrow, symbolizes the connection between the main topic or idea and the words or sentences pointed by the arrow. So this means that the poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and drama has a connection to the word literature. Poetry. Poetry is an imaginative awareness of experience expressed through meaning, sound, and rhythmic language choices to evoke an emotional response. Fiction. Fiction is a literature created from the imagination, not presented as fact, though it may be based on a true story or situation. Nonfiction. Nonfiction is based on facts and the author's opinion about the subject. Drama. Drama is a composition in prose or verse presenting in a dialogue or pantomime a story involving conflict more than contrast of character. So we have here a second example which is also about literature. So meaning illustrated novel has its connection to the word literature. Same with digifiction, graphic novel, text novels, digital fiction, and manga. So let's define what is illustrated novel. Illustrated novel is a story through text and illustrated things. 50% of the narrative is presented without words or no text at all. The reader must interpret the images to comprehend the story completely. Next, we have digifiction. Digifiction, or the triple media literature, combines three media: book, movie or video, and internet websites. To get the full story, students must engage in navigation, reading, viewing in all three forms. Graphic novel. Graphic novel is a narrative in a comic book formats. Narrative work in which the story is conveyed to the reader using a comic form. Manga. Manga is a Japanese word for comics. There are types and examples of manga, which are shonen, the boys' manga, and examples of shonen is Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. Shoujo, or the girls' manga. Examples of shoujo is Sailor Moon. Seinen, the men's manga. An example of men's manga is Akira. Jose, women's manga. Example of women's manga are Loveless and Paradise. And last but not the least, Kodomo, or the children's manga. Examples of children's manga are Doraemon and Hello Kitty. Doodle fiction. Doodle fiction is the literary representation where the author incorporates graphics in the place of the traditional font. Text novels. Text novels, stories told almost entirely in dialogue, simulating social exchanges. Checklit, a genre of fiction which addresses issues of modern womanhood, often humorously and lightheartedly. Flash fiction. It is a style of fictional literature of extreme brevity. There is no wide accepted definition of the length and category. It could range from word to 1,000. Six-word flash fiction. Like other forms of short stories or flash fiction, A six-word story allows the reader to consume an entire narrative in just a moment's time. Creative nonfiction, a genre of writing that uses literary style and techniques to create factually accurate narrative. Science fiction, or sci-fi, is an actual or imagined science upon society or individual. It is a genre of speculative. Blog. Blog is the regularly updated websites on a web page. Short articles called posts that are changed regularly in informal or conversational style. Hyperpoetry. It can either involve set of words, phrases, lines, etc. that are presented in variable order but sit on the page much as traditional poetry does, or it can contain parts of the poem that move and mutate. Illustrated novel. Illustrated novel is a story through text and illustrated things. 50% of the narrative is presented without words or sometimes no text at all. The reader must comprehend the story completely. We have here an example of the illustrated novel. Can you interpret the story on the given illustrated novel sample? So let me interpret this illustrated novel sample. In my own interpretation of the given sample, this is a story of a lovers who get married, and as a result of their love, the girl got pregnant. Then one day, the girl went out for shopping, and there were two snatchers snatched her bag that caused her to fall on the ground. She was rushed into the hospital, but she didn't make it. His husband was so sad that her wife is now in heaven with God. Tag cloud. Tag cloud is a visual stylized arrangement of words or tags within a textual content such as websites, articles, speeches, and databases. So we have here an example of a tag cloud. So you see that the Philippine literature word has a bigger size than the other words because it is the main topic or idea, which means that the word or words that surrounds the word Philippine literature is connected or has a connection to our literature. Like for example, period of enlightenment, Spanish literature, Noli Me Tangere, pre-Spanish, the Epic Age, Japanese period, Tanaga, Karaniwang Anyo, folk song, and many others. Slideshow presentation. Slideshow presentation is created with the use of Microsoft PowerPoint. It contains a series of pictures or pages of information arranged in sequence and often displayed on a large screen using a video projector. So we have here an example of a slideshow presentation. This is about the Philippine literary history from pre-colonial to the contemporary. So this is Alibata or our old alphabet. The Spanish friars burned our alphabets in the belief that they were works of the devil or were written on materials that quickly perish, like the barks of trees, dried leaves, and bamboo cylinders, which could not have remained firm even if efforts were made to preserve them. Pre-Spanish literature. During pre-Spanish literature, we have folk tales, the Epic Age, and folk songs. Folk tales. These are made up of stories about life, adventure, love, horror, and humor, where one can derive lessons about life. An example of this is The Moon and the Sun. The Epic Age. Epics are narrative poems in which a series of heroic achievements or events, usually of a hero, are dealt with at length. An example of this is Biag Nilamang. Folk song. These are one of the oldest forms of Philippine literature that emerged in the pre-Spanish literature. These songs mirrored the early forms of culture. Many of these have 12 syllables. Examples are kundiman, kumintang o tagumpay, ang dalit o oyayi, o heli, talindaw. Spanish literature. Literature in this period may be classified as religious prose and poetry, and secular prose and poetry. Spanish influences in Philippine literature. The first Philippine alphabet, called Alibata, was replaced by the Roman alphabet. Also, the teaching of the Christian doctrine became the basis of religious practices. European legends and traditions brought here became assimilated in our songs, corridos and moromoros. Folk song. It manifests the artistic feelings of the Filipinos and shows their innate appreciation for and love of beauty. The examples are Leron Leron Sinta, Pamulinawin, Dendensoy, Sarong Banggi, and Atin Kupong Singsing. Recreational plays. There are many recreational plays performed by Filipinos during the Spanish times. Almost all of them were in a poetic form such Sinakolo, Panunuluyan, Salubong, and Zarzuela. Period of Enlightenment 1972 to 1898. In 19th century, Filipino intellectuals educated in Europe called Ilustrados began to write about the hitch of colonization. The propaganda movement. This movement was spearheaded mostly by the intellectual middle class like Jose Rizal, Marcelo del Pilar, Graciano Lopez Jaena, Antonio Luna, Mariano Ponce, Jose Maria Panganiban, and Pedro Paterno. The American regime. Linguistically, Americans influenced Filipino writers to write using English language. The Japanese period. Between 1941 to 1945, Philippine literature was interrupted in its development when another foreign country, Japan, conquered the Philippines. Philippine literature in English came to a halt, except for the Tribune and the Philippine Review. Almost all newspapers in English were stopped by the Japanese. Three types of poems emerged during this period. Haiku, a poem of free verse that the Japanese like. It was made up of 17 syllables divided in 3 lines. Tanaga, Filipino poem like the haiku, is short, but it had measures and rhymes. It has 4 lines with 7 syllables, each with the same rhyme at the end of each line. Karaniwang anya, usual form and conventional. Period of activism. According to Pusiano Pineda, youth activism in 1970 to 72 was due to domestic and worldwide causes. Because of the ills of society, the youth moved to seek reforms. Period of the New Society, 1972 to 1980. Period of the Third Republic, 1981 to 1985. Post-EDSA I Revolution, 1986 to 1995. 21st century period, or this is the 2011 up to now, where people are ICT inclined. Six-word flash fiction. Like other forms of short stories or flash fiction, a six-word story allows the reader to consume an entire narrative in just a moment's time. So this is an example of a six-word flash fiction. Wear my shoe, now you know. This six-word flash fiction is about those people who says they understand you, but the truth is they can't understand you until they're on your situation. Legend. A legend is a semi-true story which has been passed on from person to person and has important meaning or symbolism for the culture in which it originates. A legend usually includes an element of truth, or is based on historic facts but with mythical qualities. One example of a legend is the legend of Pinya. So let us all watch the legend of Pinya.
The Legend of Pinya. Once upon a time, there was a woman who lived with her daughter Pina in a tiny hut in the village. They were poor, and the mother worked day and night to make both ends meet. No matter how hard she worked, though she never got any help from her daughter. Pina was a lazy, spoiled kid who liked to play in the backyard all day. Whenever her mother asked for help around the house or tried to send her on an errand, she would always find an excuse by saying she can find the object that was needed to complete the task. Needless to say, her mother always ended up doing the work herself. One day, her mother became very ill. She called out to Pina, who as usual was playing in the backyard. Pina, I am very sick. Can you cook some porridge for me, please? I am too weak to get up. Pina ignored her mother. Pina left and went to the kitchen. Her mother could hear her banging the drawers and cabinets. Her mother waited and finally she called out Pina again. Pina, did you cook like what I told you to? No, was the defiant response of Pina. And why not? Was her mom's exasperated response. Because I could not find the ladle, that's why. Oh, you lazy child. You probably did not even bother to look for it. What am I going to do with you? Her mother wept bitterly. In her anger, she shouted, I wish you would grow 1,000 eyes all over your head. Then you can find what you're looking for. Maybe then you won't have any more excuses. As soon as she said this, there was complete silence. Her mother thought, she's trying to be quiet so I will forget about asking her again. She waited a little bit to see if Pina would come back, realizing the wait was futile. She wearily got to do the things by herself. When she finally recovered from her illness, the first thing that she did was to look for Pina. No one had seen or heard from her. She feared that she might probably never see her daughter again. One day, Pina's mother went to the backyard where Pina used to play. She had noticed this strange plant growing in the very spot where she last saw Pina. By this time, the leaves of the plant had fully opened. Inside, she saw this strange yellow fruit that resembled a child's head with 1,000 eyes. She suddenly remembered the spiteful words she used that fateful day. She realized that in the same way her mother's love had spoiled her daughter, so did her anger unwittingly curse her. Somehow, her daughter had been turned into this plant. And to honor the memory of her beloved daughter, she named the fruit Pina. She took such loving care of it like it was her own daughter. The fruit flourished so well that it bore more and more fruits and became popular among the village. Its name later evolved to piña, or pineapple in English. And that's how the pineapple came to be, according to folklore, named after a spoiled child who was cursed with 1,000 eyes.
Literature adds to reality. It does not simply describe it. It enriches the necessary competencies that daily life requires and provides. And in this respect, it irrigates the deserts that our lives have already become.